Hello folks, it's Wednesday and it's another episode of After Hours Woodworking. I'm your host Chad Stanton, and on this show I tell you a little bit what I've been up to the last week in the shop. I answer some viewer emails and I do a little product suggestion that I call Should You Own It? Okay, now as you can see, this week I am wearing an Arbortech shirt. So I want to thank them right off the bat for sending me the shirt, and I'm going to talk about them in just a little bit. But let me tell you what I've been doing in my shop. And as you know, I've been building my shop. I've pretty much put all my jobs on hold until I get this shop done. It was a hard decision for me to make because as I'm building the shop, I'm spending money, and by not really doing a lot with my customers, I'm not making much money, but I found it was just too slow me trying to do both and put out video content for you guys. So I've just been doing electrical this week. There's really no new things to really show because it's just a lot of pulling wires and hooking things up. I'm putting some outside lights on it as well, and I think I'm going to add, I've got 4 windows in it now, but I think I'm actually going to add 2 more windows on the front sliding barn doors, and the reason for that is it's summertime right now, so the doors are open. It's great. I get a nice breeze through there, but in the wintertime, obviously, I'm going to have those doors closed, and when it's closed, I can't see my house, and I can't see potential deliveries or people showing up. And so by putting those 2 windows in it, I think is not only going to give me more light, but it's going to allow me to keep a closer eye on things. Okay, so I mentioned last week that Dennis and Les both were in the hospital, and I am happy to say they both are home. Les was in for a whole week, but he got out and he's home, and we were back over there working in his shop, trying to get some of his projects done for him, because even though he's home, his health is still pretty shaky. And with Dennis is fine. Dennis is back to himself, but he did kind of have a weird thing there where he passed out, and I guess he was out for a little bit. Wasn't quite sure where he was, so he was in the hospital just for a day. They don't have the results back yet, why they think it was, but nonetheless, they're both doing fine. All right, so this was kind of funny. Maybe you saw this picture on the Instagram, but I have a customer, and they bought a house for their kid, and they wanted me to check a few things out. So I went over there, and they knew I couldn't really work, but they wanted to get my opinion on some things and get me scheduled, for some work in the future. And so when I was over there, they had a small problem with the electrical, and I was able to fix it. It was like super easy to fix, and they were so appreciative. They offered me money. I said, no, I don't want any money. And they said, well, do you like to drink? And I said, well, occasionally I'll have a drink when I go out or whatever. So they said, when we bought this house, whoever the previous person was evidently had a lot of alcohol. So they said, why don't you take these bottles home? And so you can see there's quite a variety of different liquors there. So it's kind of funny. I wanted to make the joke, someone has a problem, don't they? But nonetheless, I gave Dennis a call. Dennis came over and took some. I gave my brother a call. He came over and took some. So the pile is much smaller, but there's still quite a bit there. So anyways, I've never been paid in whiskey before. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this was neat. So this past week aired the episode of Donnie Carter had me on his show, The Green Woodworker. He's got a podcast show, and Donnie is a great guy. In fact, we talked a long time. I think we talked like 3 hours, and he managed to condense it down for the podcast show. So just curious if anyone was interested and wanted to hear what him and I were talking about. I'll have a link below there in the description to his channel. Okay, so let's move on into some viewer email questions. So if you watched Monday's episode, the Duck is going to be making a new project. He's going to be making a little shaving display or shaving holder, and he's got this real rustic piece of wood, and he's concerned about it splitting all the way through. So he's going to fill it with epoxy, he said. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I've used epoxy for like joint repairs and stuff, like on a chair or something like that, but I've never really used it to hold a whole board together. So besides the epoxy, I told him on the back side, this would be a great place to try and put in some butterfly keys. Now, if you're not familiar with a butterfly key, or some people call them bow ties, what it does is they're essentially opposing wedges, and you can see in this photo here, this is actually off of my toolbox that I made. And so it's going to, as those boards want to expand and contract, the shape of the butterfly there will wedge it and will keep those boards really tight and really strong. Here's another photo of my rocking chair that I made, and this natural split was already in it, but I placed these butterfly keys in it as a decorative thing, but also too as a structural piece. So if anyone is interested in butterfly keys, I did a video many years ago, but nonetheless I'll put that link too in the description below, so you can see how I make those and fit them into place. So thank you, the Duck, for the question and sharing that with our viewers. Hippie Randall also had a question. He's going to be making a big cabinet, and he's not sure what color stain he wants to use on it yet, but he was curious, should he use a polyurethane or shellac? And there's pros and cons to both. I think the shellac, it dries really quick, which is great. But shellac, unlike a polyurethane, which is, we mentioned before, is mostly like a plastic, a chemical thing. Shellac is more of a natural-based product. Shellac doesn't require sanding in between coats, because what it does is it actually has a chemical reaction, so when you put the next layer on, it kind of starts to dissolve the previous layer, and the two fuse into one thick layer, which is pretty cool, but it can be problematic in the fact that shellac dries quick, and you can't kind of rework it. So if you brush it on, pretty much by the time you get to the end here, if you see something you didn't like you missed a little spot, or you just wanted to feather it out some more, and you go back, you're going to make a mess, because it's going to get gummy on you, and then you're going to have all these marks. So what you should do is let that dry, and then you can kind of sand, or sometimes I take like a razor blade and kind of slice going across it and take off whatever problematic area is there, and then I can apply another layer. But like I said, it can be fussy and tricky, especially if like you get a run on it. Whenever we see a run or a drip, we want to take the brush and smooth that out, and you can't do it with the shellac. So typically for me, I'll use shellac on smaller projects, okay? On something that's really big where I got to do a lot of brushing, I find it's too much of an issue for me. With polyurethane, you don't have that problem. You have more time to work it, to smooth it out, to get the runs and drips. However, it just takes a long time to dry, and you do have to sand in between each coat of polyurethane, because unlike shellac, it literally is individual layers built on top of each other, and you have to sand it so it gives it something to bite and to hold into there. So that's the two things, differences with working with those products. Now, I will say that you've heard me mention it before. I've been using the Shellac product. It's a water-based, I think he said a polyurethane hybrid. So it has the durabilities of polyurethane. It is mostly a chemical thing. Has the cleanup of water material, water-based, and it dries real quick too. So you can get multiple layers on in a day, and I will say that it's a really smooth finish. It's rock hard, and so I'll leave that link in the description if anyone's interested in that product. So thank you, Hippie, for your questions. All right, so again, I'm just moving along kind of fairly quick this week here. I'm going to move down into should you own it? And as you can see from the shirt that I'm wearing, today's product is from Arbortech. Now, if you're not familiar with Arbortech and their tools, again, I'll leave a link to them in the description. But I want to tell you my first impression. So do not mistake this portion of the video right now. I am not telling anyone that this is 100% the perfect tool and you have to go out and get it. I am strictly saying that I got these, I've been playing with them, and I just want to give you my first impressions, okay? So the first one up, and this was one I was really excited to get my hands on, which is the Arbortech Turbo Planer. And it's not the whole device that you see here, this grinder, the grinder you have to have, all right? It's the head that goes on it, and it's got 3 blades on it. And unlike those little like the chainsaw ones that you can buy, I've used those, and for me, I like this one a lot better. So what it does is aggressively, you can real quick grind something down with this, and also it has the ability, if you go real light, you can get a pretty smooth finish with this thing. I'm amazed at how fast and smooth control I can work with it. It's a pretty cool tool. Now, where is it handy? Because you're probably thinking, well, Chad, what the heck am I going to use that on? Where I like to use it, where I think it would come in real good for me, would be on, I like making these 3-legged stools, and it's perfect for dishing out the seat. That goes really quick, really fast, does a great job. So it really excels at something like that. But also, too, I'm into making rustic furniture, and I've got some of these, they call them cookies. So basically a tree that's not cut into slabs, but it's cut into like these discs or whatever. And if you got someone good with the chainsaw, they can cut this pretty straight for you. So you could probably plane it, sand it, and be done. But if they're not good with the chainsaw, that's where the Arbortech Turbo Planer would come in, because I can go across in any high spots with it. I can smooth that down to where I could just go right into sanding. Now, this thing is caution here. You don't ever want to run something like this through your surface planer, even if it was to fit, because this is all end grain. And end grain does not work well with your surface planer. I mean, you can damage the surface planer, damage the wood, and even hurt yourself in the process. So don't try and ever stick this through. So that's where I think this is really going to excel. So as I play with this some more, and I will be doing some videos featuring their products in the future, but I want to make sure I get real proficient with these and learn all the do's and don'ts to it before I share the project and the tool with you guys. But first impressions with that thing, I'm loving it. Okay, the other thing that I got from Arbortech is their power chisel. Now this, unlike the turbo planer, it does come with this whole thing, and basically it's like an oscillating machine, and it comes with well, it comes with some chisels, but you can buy extras. So I think I have a total of 7 altogether that go in this, and they easily click and lock in. And I had never used one before. So a couple of things. I'm not comfortable holding it yet. You know, I'm used to a chisel that fits in my hand, and I know how to hold it and position my body and work it to make it do what I have to do. And I'm not comfortable with this yet. I will say I was surprised because I thought like this would always be moving, and it doesn't. You turn it on and it doesn't move until you put some pressure to it, and you can see that it springs in and out a little bit, and depending on how much pressure I'm pushing in the wood, it tells how hard it's kind of hammering away. And so you can do some pretty fine cuts with it, or you can hog off a lot really quick. That's where I think this is really going to excel, is hogging the big stuff off fast, and then for me probably using the hand chisels. But again, I'm practicing, I'm playing with it, I'm trying to get a feel of how to hold and work this into the wood. So stay tuned on that. Again, I don't have all my final thoughts in on either one of these products, but both have been fun to play with. So that's this little segment of Should You Own It? I guess it's not really telling you anything at this point other than you will get some future feedback and either a thumbs up or thumbs down from them. But honestly, it's what I've had so far is I'm not going to be able to give a thumbs down. It's just going to be, these are specialty tools for if you want to get into certain things. So it's not like a table saw where you can use it on everything, obviously. But anyway, stay tuned to find out what the projects will be and how well I can actually make these tools perform for me. Okay, so let's see, what's coming up for me? Well, don't be surprised if the week of the 26th through the 1st that you don't see any videos from me for that week, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. Reason being is, as you're watching this, I am down now at the IWF show, the International Woodworking Fair, and since I'll be down there, I won't have time to make, film, and edit a video as soon as I get back. So I'm just going to use that for the week off, and hopefully you all will be missing me. But that comes to the question of the week. The question of the week is, have you been to the IWF show before? And if you were there, what was your favorite booth to go to? I have never been there. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I've always been asked to go, and I'm just like, I don't really think the stuff there would apply to me. I'm a smaller based furniture maker. I'm not making giant doors on a factory assemble line, and I don't have employees. It's just me, and I have all my tools I'm comfortable with. But nonetheless, people are saying, "Oh no, Chad, you really got to go. There's something there for everyone," and so so I'm going. And I'm probably going to meet up with Donnie Carter down there from the Green Woodworker podcast and a few others. I'm going to be meeting David Shepard with Shellac. We're going to hang out, and who knows who I'll bump into. So I will be checking the comments and stuff from the video here while I'm down there. So if you've been and you have a good suggestion for me to stop in and see a particular booth, let me know. So videos coming up. On Friday of this week, you should have a video still. It's going to be a quick build video. It's an Asian-inspired little bench that I made, actually probably a year or two ago for a customer of mine. I filmed the process. I just never really got around to editing it, and so I thought I would take this time to do one of those faster, quick build projects where you just kind of watch the action happen, and it's all done with hand tools. So that might be interesting for some of you folks to see. So anyway, that should be up on Friday, providing I get everything edited before I leave. So, as always, if you have a question that you would like me to answer, feel free to write me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com. And of course, you can tune in for other episodes the week after, right? The week after. So the first full week in the month of September, you can look for videos. So until then, as always, thank you so much for watching. And until then, keep on dancing.